Are you tired of spending too much of your hard-earned money at the supermarket? Are you dreaming of farm fresh eggs, homegrown veggies, and homemade everything? Well, welcome to Ditch the Store, where we break free from supermarket dependence and take back control of our food and household essentials. I'm CJ, and I'm here to show you that life is too short for store-bought eggs. So let's get started. G'day everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ditch the Store. CJ doing a solo episode today, tonight actually. I'm recording this at night. It's, for those in Australia, it's school holiday time, and my kids are at their dad's this week. They're actually not there for the whole week, but for a couple of days at least, and the handy helper is on night shift, and he hates leaving me on night shift, but he doesn't realise I get shitloads done while he's not in the house. And that sounds terrible, but if he's not sleeping, when he's sleeping during the day, I try not to make much noise. So I am madly recording a couple of episodes tonight while I have no kids and no handy helper in the house. Now the kids we have a bit of an exciting week coming up because, and this will horrify some people, I'm sure I'll get hate mail, but you know, that's the way it is, the way the cookie crumbles. We are pretty realistic about things on the farm life. And so both kids are members of the Sporting Shooters Association, and they're both also firearms permit holders, as the handy helper and myself. And that is a necessary requirement when you are living on an acreage, and I'm not talking 5 acres, I'm talking 120 acres, because there are times that we need to dispatch animals with a firearm. We do dispatch with other methods, but sometimes bigger animals, firearm is the best, cleanest, quickest, and most humane method of doing it. I'm actually looking at getting a bolt gun for dispatching cows when that time comes, when we start processing our own beef. Because a bolt gun is just really handy and very quick, very humane. It's, I like the way it works. But the kids both shoot, and they were asked by the lovely trainers and instructors at the Canberra Sporting Shooters Association to participate in Junior Nationals, which is in Wodonga this year, which is right on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. Wodonga's in Victoria. Albury is its sister city in New South Wales. So we are going down for 4 days for the kids to participate in a shooting comp that is going to include a mock biathlon, which OJ is super excited about because the kids both actually learned to ski properly last year. And now that he's learned to ski, all he keeps talking about is how he's going to compete and do biathlons and, ski and shoot, and how cool that will be. Now, the mock biathlon, because Wodonga is not up in the hills and it does not have snow, they're going to get the kids to jog or run a couple of laps, do some push-ups, things like that, and then try and do some shooting, target shooting, and see how they go. So that should be exciting. That's this weekend. I can't wait. But in the meantime, I'm going to madly try and get a couple of episodes recorded. So it's episode 123 this week, and we are on all things natural cleaning products and things that you can do at home to not have to buy cleaning products as such from the store. Now, that being said, and I always, kind of put the caveat in there that I still buy things from the store. It's just that the things that I buy, I tend to make my own things. So I make my own laundry powder. I make my own cleaner. I do still use gumption that I buy from the store, but I'm slowly kind of phasing that out and realising that bicarb paste is just as good, particularly bicarb paste with castile soap, I'm finding is super, super effective. And we're going to discuss all that today, but I just want to go through deep cleaning methods using natural methods. And when I say natural, I mean, chemicals that we can pronounce, chemicals that we can see and know, and, we know exactly what's in them. And they're, in some cases, things that we can consume. They're that human friendly that we can consume some of these items and, still use them for cleaning products. Whereas a lot of the other things that you get in the shops that are pre-made cleaning products, you could never consume it. And growing up, I used to have this real thing about washing our plates with something that, was not really edible. Because in my brain, I would think, well, there'd be traces of it left on your plates and your cutlery and things like that, and your cups. So why are we washing our plates with things that aren't safe for our stomachs? Anyway, I don't know. That was just a kid brain thing that I had. And so obviously, as I progressed to doing my own natural cleaning products, that made sense to me. So I know there'll be people out there that go, no, if it's really heavy mold or things like that, it's got to have bleach to kill it. Yeah, in some cases, you might have to resort to that. If you're going into a house that has never had a deep clean, that's really, really atrocious, you might want to go down the chemical route. But to maintain a house, I can't see why you can't go with the natural products. And I certainly, I've not opposed to using the heavy duty stuff if I think it's needed, but in most cases around our house, if we do it on a weekly basis, we're never at a point where we need to go into that deep clean mode. So please don't let the idea of mold scaring you off, because mold is just a thing that grows. I mean, it grows on our food, it grows everywhere. There's some molds that are way more dangerous than others, but in most cases, if you're cleaning the molds up, they're not going to impact you if you're cleaning them. So the big jobs, the things like ovens, showers, grout, mold, can you clean them without using heavy duty cleaners and ones that don't have you choking? And like, if you didn't listen to last episode, go back and listen to episode 122. I talk about passing out in the shower to clean a shower out after I'd sprayed exit mold all through it. Now, and I probably should have said last week, it's probably a bit weird. Some people probably go, what the fuck were you doing cleaning the shower, like climbing into the shower to hose it down? But I've just always done it that way because I find it much easier. Rather than having water spraying all out of the shower, I will spray cleaner in the shower and then I strip off and get in the shower to have a shower and clean the shower at the same time. And that way I can get in there and give it a really good scrub and all the rest of it. Unfortunately, when you do that with exit mold, hot water on exit mold in an confined space, breathing it in, can't recommend it. Really, yeah, listen to episode 122 if you want to hear the story. It was pretty horrid. But why, we did discuss last week about why we don't want to be using those really commercial deep cleaners. And the main ones are the chemicals that are in them and the impact that it can have on your health and on your family's health and on your environment. And the main kind of ingredients in most chemical cleaners are things like bleach and ammonia, and there's some ammonium compounds that I can't even pronounce and I'm not going to try. And I'm going to read this off my screen, butoxyethanol. Yeah. Again, if I can't pronounce it, it's the same with food. If I can't pronounce it on the back of a food label, I tend to get a bit nervous and go, well, hang on, what exactly is it? Like, if somebody can explain to me what it is, then I'm all good. But also things like synthetic fragrances and colorings and things like that, and the preservatives, which is formaldehyde, is the main one that they use in cleaning products, which is definitely not good for you. You know, any scientist that handles formaldehyde will tell you it's not something you want to be breathing in or touching, and yeah. So, and that's what's in our cleaning products. That's what we're cleaning our showers that we wash in, our plates that we eat off, our floors that our kids sit on and our pets go across, our surfaces that we're preparing food on. That's what we're using to clean those surfaces. So to me, it seems like a no-brainer to go more natural if you can. Most of those chemicals, I did go through it last week, but most of those chemicals are listed as being contributing factors to things like asthma and respiratory illnesses, hormone disruptors for some people, and particularly if you're very hormone sensitive. So our ladies out there with polycystic ovaries, having a huge dump of chemicals that would impact your hormones is definitely not going to be great for you. I don't speak from personal experience on the polycystic ovaries, but I have a very dear friend who suffered very badly with polycystic ovaries. And, she was in so much pain most of the time. I think it would be kind of a smart move to do anything you can to reduce that level of pain. I don't think anybody needs to go through that kind of pain. Then you've got your things like dermatitises and obviously skin burns. Some of the chemicals are caustic and would damage skin when they come in contact. But there's also the long-term environmental damage. And again, I'll put myself out on a limb here where I'm sure I get a shitload of hate mail. Because I don't have the same belief around climate change that some people do. But I do have a very, very strong belief around the fact that we, as humans, are polluting our own personal environments way too much. And that is contributing to issues that we have in keeping our environmental balance in check. I really strongly believe that. I think that if less people traveled by air, less people traveled by car. That it would wipe out so much pollutants in our air environment straight away. And as a mum who had 2 kids that both suffered from asthma, for a period of time, both of them are clear now, but they both did have asthma. Anything you can do to keep that air environment clear, in my mind, is a good thing. So using less is great. So episode 122, I'll put the links in the show notes because that's what we talked about last week. And so if you haven't listened to that, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that, maybe even before you listen to this one. But if you're already this far in, go ahead, listen to this one, go back and listen to 122. They can be listened to independently. It's not like you can't listen to one without the other. So what does my natural cleaning toolkit look like? I've got a couple of things that I use on a very, very regular basis, and I buy them in bulk because it's just easier. And the first and probably the most used one is baking soda or sodium bicarbonate, bicarb soda. Some people get confused between baking powder and bicarb soda. Baking powder, my understanding is, has been broken down a little bit more and it's a bit more dissolvable for cooking with. But bicarb soda is sodium bicarbonate. That's its chemical name. And it's a naturally occurring, mildly alkaline powder. And it can be used as a gentle abrasive. Now, if you haven't ever done it before, don't be scared to get it on your skin. I actually find that if I've been out working in the garden and my hands are absolutely putrid, literally a teaspoon of bicarb soda in your hands, a little bit of water so that it makes a paste, and give it a really good rub, it almost feels like it's taking a layer of skin off. And that might freak you out a little bit. But what I mean is it makes your hands so clean. It's like the cleanest hand wash you could come up with, and it will strip oils, fat. Like if you've been handling meat, and if anybody that butchers their own animals and handles meat a lot, some people use gloves. I don't. I find I'm not dexterous enough with gloves on. If I've been handling fatty meat, you get a layer of fat over your hands that is really hard to get off with soap. Bicarb, a little bit of bicarb in your hand, rub it together into a paste, and it just strips it straight off. It comes so clean, it's beautiful. So it is great for scrubbing things. So if you've, and one thing I will say too about all of these natural methods, some people go, I don't have time for that. That means more scrubbing. Using them the right way, it doesn't actually equate to that much more scrubbing. I mean, with gumption, which is a made product, and I think the main ingredient is bicarb anyway, I still have to scrub with that to get my enamel cast iron pans clean. I still have to scrub. So you have to use a little bit of elbow grease, even with the chemical ones. Why not just use the natural ones and a little bit of elbow grease? So it is perfect for scrubbing things out, for cleaning things. I use it just mixed into a paste with laundry stuff as well. If I've got to get the dark rings off the back of the Handy Helpers collars, for work collars, stains. MJ wears a lot of sports clothes because she plays a lot of rugby, and she's got one top in particular that is white, like it's that sports fabric, that real quick dry stuff, and it is white. And the only way to get it clean is bicarb and vinegar. That's the only thing that strips the back to that normal white colour. So it's very good in a scrubbing sense. I wouldn't use it too much scrubbing on fabric unless you know that fabric's pretty tough, because it can be abrasive and it could probably lift some fibres up. It's also very good for neutralising odours. So if you have, just say with the fridge, if you've got things in the fridge and you get a bit of a funky smell happening in your fridge, just put a little bowl of bicarb soda in the fridge, and it absorbs the odours out of the fridge. So it'll stop the odours being in the fridge and make it smell a bit fresher. Same as if you've got a wardrobe that's got a bit of a damp or musty smell. I want to say moist because I know somebody out there will hate that word, but if you've got a wardrobe that's got a bit of musty smell to it, a little bowl of bicarb, and you just change it every month kind of thing, it'll absorb the odours out of the air into the powder, and then just throw it out. Don't use it. Don't use it if you've been using it for that technique. It's really, really good for breaking down grease and protein-based grime. And that's what I mean when I say if you're butchering your own meat and you've got that fatty, greasy feel on your hands, putting a little bit of bicarb on there, it'll just take that grease straight off. Now, the best bit is it has a bit of a reaction And OJ was doing this year chemical reactions versus natural reactions, I think they were calling it in their science subject. And we were talking about this, the fact that when you add vinegar to bicarb, you get a chemical reaction. And that chemical reaction helps lift dirt, particularly greasy dirt, like dirty collars, greasy dirt, food stains on clothing. It'll help lift them up. And that goes the same for bench tops as well, for countertops and things like that. It will help lift it up. So I love baking soda. I buy it in a massive, I think it's a 5 kilo bag from Costco. And it's actually not that expensive when you buy it that way. For the amount that you need to use, it's pretty minimal. So I would definitely recommend finding somebody to buy it in bulk. I think Bunnings also stock it in a big bulk bag, but I know Costco definitely have bicarb soda in a big, it's like an orange coloured clip seal, resealable bag. And so we love that. Baking soda, I have the big tub of it under the kitchen sink, and it is always there ready to go. And if you look on the internet, you will find 1,000,001 uses for bicarb soda. So I will go through a few of them, but yeah, go Google like crazy, bicarb soda cleaning products. You'll find 1,000,000 recipes. The second one that we use absolutely shit tins of is white vinegar, which is acetic acid. And it's as it said, the name says, it's an acid, which means that it can cause damage to some surfaces and items and things like that. So you have to kind of think about this one a little bit. It is very gentle as far as acids go compared to other ones, but it's typically about 5% acidic acid in the water. So not enough to burn through hands, burn through clothes, burn through surfaces, not enough to do that. And, white vinegar can be consumed. So obviously if it can go into your stomach, it's not going to hurt your hands or your skin or anything like that. Now, I did some research because I actually sat down and thought about it. Shit, I don't actually know how white vinegar is made. I know that you get like a mother, like a SCOBY, like for kombucha and things like that, with white vinegar. And you can actually make your own white vinegar at home by distilling half white vinegar, half water, and leaving it for 3 months. And the water will take on the properties of the vinegar. And sometimes if you give a white vinegar bottle a shake, you'll see there's little strings of it's almost like a SCOBY, like a mother out of an apple cider vinegar sitting in the bottom. And that's because it's made from fermented grain alcohol. So it comes out of that process of making alcohol. And I guess, I don't want to say it, but I guess if you drink it, it would have a slight alcoholic property. I would be very mild, I would imagine. I have it on my chips. I love white vinegar on hot chips. To me is like the bomb. So yeah, but it will cut through mineral deposits, soap scum, and hard water stains. So it's a really good one for using on surface cleaners to make things nice and shiny. I will use it on my stainless steel sink top area. And it gives it a really good shine and makes it nice and clean. It's also good as a bit of a glass cleaner. You can use it as a glass cleaner as well. And it has a mild disinfectant property to it. So it can be used in areas that, if you're preparing food and things like that, it can have a mild disinfectant effect on the surfaces. Now, one thing I will say about vinegar, and my mother-in-law says it all the time because I use it in the washing machine as a rinse aid. The vinegar goes in, it has that disinfectant property on clothing. It also gives the washing machine a little bit of a flush out of soap scum. So I find that it keeps the washing machine a little bit cleaner. My mother-in-law goes off a nut. You're going to do the rubbers on your washing machine. You're going to make them perish because it's acidic and it's going to eat into the rubbers. It hasn't made no difference to my washing machine, I have to be honest. I've been doing it for, 8 years. I've been using vinegar as a rinse aid, and I have had no impact on any of my washing machines. The last front loader that I had was 10 years old when it finally died, and it only died because the water pump went in it. So it was nothing to do with the seals or the rubbers. And the current second-hand one that I've got has been going for 4 years now. It was secondhand when we got it, and it has never given us a day of grief. So it definitely isn't having any impact on that one either. But do not use it on natural stone surfaces. So if you have beautiful marble bench tops in your kitchen, do not use vinegar on your natural stone bench tops or marble or granite or anything like that. If you're in doubt, if you're not sure if it's real stone or fake stone, maybe just do a little test patch on the side. It will kind of damage the surface a little bit if it's genuine. So definitely don't do it. That's my disclaimer. Do not use it. It's not suitable for natural stone surfaces. But it can be used for so many other things. And like I say, mixed with bicarb soda, it has great grease lifting properties. It will do a wonderful job of lifting grease off surfaces when it's mixed with bicarb soda. And you'll see it fizz and bubble. The kids love it because they think it's like a little science experiment at home. But it certainly has the impact that I want it to have, which is that it cleans up any kind of thick grease scum. It'll fix up. Oh, I need to have a sip of tea in a sec, but we'll keep going. Castile soap. Now, Castile soap is an unusual one because people go, well, hang on, what's Castile soap? What's so different about that? So Castile soap is just the plant-based version of the old-fashioned tallow soap. So biodegradable, plant-based. It originated from Spain. That's where it was originally made. And it's generally made using olive oil, coconut oil, or any other kind of vegetable fats. Now, Castile soap, when you think about it, if you do hot press soap or cold press soap, you would be essentially making a version of Castile soap. By using olive oils and things like that. Now, I'm just starting to tinker with making tallow soaps as well. And tallow soaps are made from beef. Tallow is rendered beef fat. So the soap is made from the fat. Now, you might freak out and go, what the fuck? Like, are we making soap out of fat? 100% we're making soap out of fat. It's the fat makes the qualities of the soap, and I've got it, I think further down in my notes, I've got the qualities of the soap and what you need to be looking for. But Castile soap essentially is a vegetable fat soap, and tallow soap is an animal fat soap. And they are the traditional soap. Tallow was the original. Vegetable fats, I think as it became harder to get good quality animal fat, they went to vegetable fats and tried it, and it worked. Now, the good thing about proper Castile soap, and you really need to look for Castile, so it's Castile soap. When you look for it, look for the ones that actually say they are pure Castile soap. You will find that they are free from artificial detergent type products, foaming agents, and they won't have any petroleum in them, which is what other soap-based things do have in them. You don't want those things in there. Generally, with pure Castile soap, you'll find that it comes unscented and it is just a liquid soap. Now, as I've been trying to gather things up to make more and more soaps at home, I've discovered that you can actually get blocks of Castile soap as a dried version. Which I'll look into and see how you go with that. But Castile soap can be a little bit expensive, and definitely if you're going to be using it all the time, I would say look for a bulk pack if you can get it. It's probably on par with the price of olive oil at the moment. I went to go and get some olive oil the other day to make more soap at home, and when I went looking for it, I couldn't believe it. It was like $50 for 4 litres. When did it jump up to that? I don't cook with olive oil anymore. I only cook with butter. So I looked and went, shit, I didn't know the price had jumped up like that. But in Australia, olive oil, good quality olive oil, is super, super expensive. It's like $50-$60 for a 4 litre container, which blew my mind. Obviously, the cheapo vegetable oils that are made of, they're basically engine oil. They're a lot cheaper. But I probably wouldn't use them even for soap. I don't necessarily want engine oil up against my skin. I would much rather have the pure olive oil that I know, or coconut oil, or things like that. And coconut oil's always been a little bit expensive, so you have to hunt around for that one as well. Castile soap definitely cuts through grease and lifts dirt, but it is very gentle on your skin. If you use it for washing up, and I have used it for washing up detergent before, but you only need a couple of drops. And oh my God, your hands come out feeling really soft and lovely, like you haven't really had them in dishwashing liquid. So it is very, very gentle. Now, there is a brand called Dr. Bronner's Castile soap, which is very highly recommended. I think the one that I've got may be that. I might just pause for a sec. No, mine is Natural Castile Liquid. and I don't know whether I can get it in close enough for the camera to see there. But if you're listening, it actually comes from the local health food shop that I sometimes go and buy bulk specialty kind of goods from. And this one is, I'm trying to have a look in this terrible light. It is vegetable oil, and potassium citrate and natural certified organic oil. So it's all just oils in there. And it's like, that's a 1 litre, I think that's, 500 ml. And it cost me $15.95 from the natural health food shop. I can get it in bulk, and I have bought it in bulk before. This was just the one that's sitting on the kitchen bench at the moment. But it is, you really only need a couple of drops of that. So it's a really good one to have, to use, to keep in your little store of natural products for cleaning. Now, there's a couple of other things that may surprise you that are also very, very handy to have. And, of course, some of these you may not be able to get them fresh if you are out in the boonies like we are. Sometimes I go to grab something and go, shit, we don't have that, and I'm not driving into town for one lemon. And that's lemon juice. Lemon juice is a natural antibacterial, and it's very high in a thing called citric acid. Now, citric acid is one of the ingredients that I use in my laundry powder, but I use it in a powdered version, not in the actual lemon juice version. I have yet to try and make a liquid laundry powder, laundry soap, which I'll get to eventually. But at the moment I make the powder version. And citric acid, you can buy it at the supermarket, just in a little shaker tub. It's actually in the baking aisle. So where you would find gelatin, where you would find baking powder, bicarb soda, those kind of things in the supermarket, you can buy it in a little tub. I'm trying to find a place that I can buy it in larger quantities online, so that I don't have to go in the supermarket, because, I like to ditch the store. But I'm trying to find it at the moment. So when I work out where's the best to get it, I'll let you know. But the citric acid is really, really good for breaking down hard water stains, which is why it can be used in laundry powder, because depending on what your water situation is, we're on rainwater here, not hard water. So it's a bit easier. We don't necessarily have to put the citric acid in. But it also cuts through soap scum and rust, which is good for any kind of watery areas. So bathtubs, sinks, things like that. It'll stop any kind of water rust happening. It has a natural bleaching effect. I mean, any ladies out there who may have coloured their hair back in the day, I can remember laying on a tack shed roof with me and my horsey buddies, and we squeezed lemon juice into our hair and then lay with our hair out in the sun to try and naturally bleach our hair. And actually, I had naturally dark brown hair as a young person, and it actually worked. it had that bleachy effect on my hair, which was great. And it smells lovely, which is the main one that makes it really good for using in cleaning products. It leaves that lovely scent afterwards, which sometimes cleaning products can just be a bit blando or a bit, especially your chemical cleaners. I find the smell a bit off-putting sometimes. Now, essential oils. And there are a couple of essential oils that are better than others, so we'll go through them. Tea tree oil is the first one on my list. Tea tree oil is antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and it fights mold. It's like a winning. Tea tree oil you can get in fairly large quantities. It's not super cheap, but you don't need a lot of it. That's the good news. You really don't need a lot of it. But it's a great one to put a couple of drops into a cleaning solution of vinegar and bicarb soda and things like that, because it does have those antibacterial properties and the antifungal properties, and it will kill mold, and it smells really lovely. I think tea tree smells amazing. And as a beekeeper, we've got tea tree up the back where our hives are, and I love the fact that the bees love those flowers when they come out. It's awesome. Eucalyptus, another one that the bees love. It's funny how the bees love them, and they're all antibacterial. So the good thing about eucalyptus oil is it is a germ fighter, like a natural germ fighter. It's a decongestant, which is why you'll find it used in things like the nebulizers for kids when they've got chesty coughs and things like that. It's also used in a lot of antibacterial sprays that you're breathing in, because it's quite good on your chest. It can be quite have a decongestant effect. Really can't talk today. And it has a beautiful smell. I love the smell of eucalyptus. I think you couldn't say you're Australian and say that you didn't like the smell of eucalyptus. I actually don't know. If you live overseas, let me know if eucalyptus grows overseas because it's a very Australian thing, but I'm sure that it's not completely. I want to say it's native to Australia, but that it still grows in other places. Anyway, lemon we've already mentioned. Great as a degreaser, great as an antibacterial, and it's got a beautiful smell to it. Lavender. Now, lavender to me, I love the smell of lavender. I think I used to when I was a shift worker, a heavy duty shift worker, and I had very bad insomnia. I had a doctor say to me, "Don't forget, lavender has a real beneficial effect on getting to sleep." So I used to put a couple of drops on a tissue and stick it into my pillowcase and sleep breathing this lavender oil in. It's antimicrobial. It's very calming, and that's why it's great for sleep and really good for kids too. But it's also lovely in areas like bathrooms and things like that because it gives it that really fresh kind of soft smell. I guess soft smell, if you know what I mean. Peppermint. Peppermint is an antiviral. It's cooling, and the good bit about it is it repels insects. So if you're wiping down areas outside, like outside tables and things like that you might use, peppermint might be your choice of oil for those areas because it does have some properties that would push away insects rather than attracting them. And orange. I love orange for cleaning. Now, anybody that out there that is ex-law enforcement, I don't know whether it's just me or not, whether I'm the only weirdo in the room kind of thing, but OC spray, so capsicum spray, has an orangey smell to it. And whenever I smell orange cleaning products, it always makes me think of capsicum spray. I don't know whether that's just me that's got that weird thing in my head that that's what it smells like. And I'm sure it doesn't smell like that to other people because I used to always go, "Oh, it smells so nice," and everybody else would be coughing and going, "It smells terrible, it smells terrible." Whatever, I think it smells nice. But orange is a really good thing for areas that would have sticky residue or any kind of grime. So I think there used to be a brand that it was actually Orange Power or something like that. And it was a benchtop cleaner and it had orange in it. And it was probably synthetic orange. But the idea behind it was that oranges are really good for cleaning surface areas that might have residue on them. I keep bumping my microphone tonight. So scrubbing tools, because like I said at the beginning, when you are cleaning, you do have to use a little bit of elbow grease with these natural products. So there's a couple of things that you can have in your little bag of tricks. And one of those is microfiber cloths. They're really handy for wiping things down and being able to throw it in the wash, give it a wash, let it air out, sunlight on it, dries out, and you can reuse it. You're not using paper towel and having to throw it out. The other thing I use is Chuck's wipes. They come in a really big roll here in Australia and you just tear one off. I use them for the milking goats, for washing udders and prepping the goats before I milk them. And they can be thrown in the wash and washed and reused. Now, eventually they do fall apart, but anything fibery will fall apart eventually. The fibres will come off it. But it's certainly one that you can wash and reuse and you can still sterilise it. You can still chuck it in things for sterilising. But microfiber cloths are really, really handy. I love them for cleaning mirrors and windows because they just seem to capture all the dust and any little flecks and get it off the glass, which is really cool. Soft bristle brushes. So look for things with like coconut fibre or bamboo handles if you're really conscious about being eco-friendly. But they're great for grout, tiles and shower corners, getting in and getting a brush in there. Now, one of the other things that I do use, and I wouldn't recommend you do your whole shower with it, but it can be great for getting into the corners and getting into the grout, is old toothbrushes. So once the kids are done with their toothbrush, I don't throw them out. I stick them in a bit of vinegar and give them a good sterilise so there's no mouth germs on them anymore. And then I will use and then let them dry out completely in the sun. And then I'll use them for cleaning, particularly around little grouty tile areas or around the backs of kitchen sink taps and things like that where you can't normally get in with a brush. I'll use those. So don't forget to do that. And because then you can just use them until they wear down completely and then throw them. And they've had 2 uses out of them and you've done your bit for the environment. The other one is scrub pads and sponges. Now, obviously, most people in Australia would have seen Scrub Daddy, the sponges. we've not had great luck with them. Every time we've had them, they kind of fall apart. And I'm sure it's just us. Maybe we're just really heavy-handed with them. But honestly, I buy ones that I can throw out, and I just use them until they're at the point of extinction before I toss them. But you can get them really cheap, sometimes from Bunnings or from Aldi, where they'll be in like a 20 pack or something like that. And I just keep them under the sink and use them as needed. Yeah, obviously, if they're compostable pads, that would be awesome. But if they're not, they're not. Certainly, there's some things where they say don't try and particularly cutlery and plates, don't use things with little microplastics in them because they'll break off, and that's just small microplastics going into your body. Now, a grout brush or a detailing brush, and this is something you can get. It'll be a hard plastic one, so it's not very eco-friendly, but geez, they're good. From Bunnings, look for one. They have a really narrow head on them and really stiff, hard bristles, and a little bit of bicarb soda and vinegar on the end of it, like in a paste, and run that through tile grout. It will come up so clean. It'll actually, you have to be careful if the tile grout is a little bit soft and dying. If you scrub too hard, you might end up knocking bits of grout out. So just do it gently to start with to see how you go. Now, I have got a couple of recipes that I just wanted to run through quickly, and I am mindful of time. But oven cleaner paste can be made bicarb soda, water, castile soap, and some lemon juice. Now, you can put lemon or orange juice or essential oils in there, but I wouldn't bother, I don't think. You make it all into a thick paste, spread it over the oven surfaces, particularly on doors and things like that. Let it sit for 30 minutes or even overnight if you want, and then wipe away and use a vinegar spray to get rid of any residue soap that's on there. It comes off really well. I'm going to try and video. I'm due to clean the oven. We use a little toaster oven because we're off grid and we don't have a proper big oven, and it's due for a clean. So I'm going to have a go at doing it and videoing it if I get a chance before kids are home, and we'll see how we go. Now, for mold areas like showers and things like that, 1 cup of white vinegar with 10 to 15 drops of tea tree oil into a spray bottle. Give it a shake every time you use it. That way the oil and the vinegar are all mixed in together nicely. Give it a good spray it on an area, and then just wipe it off with a lovely soft cloth. You can, if it's a mouldy surface, you can leave it sit for about 30 to 60 minutes and then give it a bit of a brush with that stiff brush that I was talking about, because that will lift anything out of like any real stubborn stuff in there. Grout cleaning. So in between tiles, say you've got, and one of the houses I lived in, I can remember I started cleaning a section of grout in the tiles with bicarb, and the worst bit was it was so obviously putrid, and the difference in colour was so significant. I then had to do the entire house because I could see this one patch that I'd cleaned and the rest of the house looked putrid in comparison. I think I actually, this is back in the days when I was still living with the kid's father, and I think his father loaned me one of those old-fashioned floor cleaners that you hang onto, and it's got the turning brushes, and I went over the floor with bicarb with this turning brush floor cleaner, and oh my God, the tiles were a completely different colour to when we bought the house. We were like, oh, it's like a terracotta brown. You know, it wasn't. They were like bright orange by the time I cleaned them. So grout cleaning. 1/2 cup of baking soda, bicarb soda, and 2 tablespoons of the castile soap. And then you can drop 10 drops of either eucalyptus or tea tree oil into it just to give it a nice fresh smell, particularly if it's in a bathroom area. And then once that's made into kind of a paste, you get your toothbrush or your grout cleaning brush and just scrub gently. And like I say, if you're using one of those really hard, stiff brushes, just go gentle to start with to make sure that your grout isn't had it, because grout doesn't last forever. People think it's going to last forever. It doesn't last forever, particularly if it's had harsh cleaning products on it in the past. It could have already broken away and there could be little air pockets underneath that are going to lift grout out. And then once you're done, just give it a gentle mop with maybe some vinegar water just to clean up any residue that's off there. Natural disinfectant. Now, this is the one time you will use something that I haven't mentioned on the list already, and that is hydrogen peroxide. And I do keep hydrogen peroxide here because we're so far out of town. If anybody gets a cut or any kind of open wound that needs flushing out, I will use hydrogen peroxide. And you can get I think you can get 1%, 3%, 5% from the chemist. The one I've got is 3%. And that mixed in water in a spray bottle is very diluted and works well. I have, when I've cut myself in the past, or when the handy helper's cut himself, because he does do it, I have poured hydrogen peroxide directly onto the wound. Now, it hurts like fuck. I'm not going to lie, it hurts. And it fizzes and goes everywhere, but every time I've done it, I've never had an infection in the wound afterwards, neither has the handy helper. So there must be something in using it. But the important thing is here, with using natural disinfectants, hydrogen peroxide with water in one bottle, in a spray bottle, and then white vinegar, so your 5% acetic acid, in a separate spray bottle. Never ever mix hydrogen peroxide and vinegar together. You'll get a chemical reaction and you don't want that. It'll fizz and go everywhere and make a mess. So keep them in separate bottles. Once you've got them in separate bottles, you clean the surface with a bit of soap and water, spray the vinegar, let it sit for 5 minutes, wipe it clean, so make sure the vinegar's off the surface, and then spray hydrogen peroxide and let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes and wipe it down with a microfiber cloth. That is the perfect disinfectant. You will seriously, the surface will be so clean. But I can't stress enough, do not put vinegar with hydrogen peroxide in the same bottle. I've actually got it written here. It creates periatric acid. It's a chemical that it makes by mixing the two, which is actually toxic. So you don't want the two mixed together. I think the fumes are toxic. So if you mix it together, you'll knock yourself out. Don't do it. Not worth it. Now, when to spot test or avoid. Vinegar and lemon are both very, very acidic. So the things that you want to avoid for vinegar and lemon is marble, granite, travertine, which is a type of stone, and slate. Now, slate, I've had slate tiles that I have cleaned with bicarbonate vinegar, but it was a very diluted version of vinegar and it didn't have a problem. But on my list, when I was doing the research into this to make sure that I wasn't giving anybody bad advice, slate was one of the ones that came up and it said, don't put vinegar on slate. As I said, I've done it before and not had too much of an issue. But if you are at all in doubt about what your floor surface is, do a test patch somewhere really inconspicuous where you're not going to notice it and it's not going to drive you nuts for the next, 10 years looking at this one tile that's got a, slightly kind of faded colour in it. Also, the ones to do spot tests on, just to be on the safe side, because it depends what the person or the manufacturer used to make the thing, is painted wood. Always be careful. Some painted woods, a little bit of vinegar on them, and you'll look at your cloth and the paint is coming off on the cloth. So, the paint is very weak, obviously, and vinegar on it would be enough to strip some of the colour out of it. Delicate upholstery. If it's very old upholstery, I would always say speak to a professional cleaner if it's very sentimental to you and very important to you. But delicate fabrics, sometimes vinegar can be a little bit too strong for it. And any kind of rubbing motion with bicarb vinegar can actually tear the fibres and give you patchy kind of fabric. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to damage it. Polished surfaces. There are other things that you can use for polished surfaces, and beeswax is one of them. So there's lots of other alternatives for that, and we may discuss that in another episode. I haven't worked it out yet. But there's other things you can use for polished surfaces. So do a spot test. If it's really dirty and really gungy, it's had food spilled on it, drink spilled on it, you might need to put something across it. But castile soap is probably your best bet, mixed with water in that instance. I probably wouldn't go so savage with vinegar or definitely not with hydrogen peroxide because that will bleach. Okay, so that's it. That's everything for this week. Now, next week, I think we are talking about, I have got it here, I'm talking just about sprays next week. So different kind of sprays that you can use for cleaning surfaces. Excuse me, coughing. I didn't want to cough in your ear then. And we'll talk about different things that you can do for your DIY spray stuff. But also too, I just want to let everybody know that my clothing store, Not the Farmer's Wife, we have expanded our hoodies and t-shirts range. Now the t-shirts and hoodies ranges are all printed here in Australia. So all of my t-shirts, all of my hoodies I think the hoodies and t-shirts, I have to be honest, are probably made in China, like every other t-shirt and hoodie. Even when people say they're made in Australia, 90% of the put together is done in China, and then they just bring it here and sew a button on it and say it was made in Australia. But the actual printing process is done by an Australian-owned company here in Australia, and obviously I own the shop, so the two people that are benefiting in Australia are the printer and me, and so I love the fact that I can say they are Australian-made garments. They're Australian printed garments, and they are made to order. So the garment only gets made when you order it. It's not sitting in a shop somewhere already made. And we've expanded the range. We've got a whole bunch more stuff. So if you are after any hoodies or t-shirts that are Australian made, and I will tell you, they're not as cheap as the Chinese version. You're not looking at Shein prices. You're not looking at Temu prices, because they are quality garments. So they're solid. They're not going to fall apart in a week like some of the stuff you get from Shein. Go to www.notthefarmerswife.com and have a look at the range there. And I will try and post some stuff on the socials about different cleaning things that I'm using through the week. So make sure you're following us at Mojo Homestead, and have a look there and see what I'm posting as far as cleaning products and stuff like that. Anyway, that is it for me. I'm going to go and make myself another cup of tea. My cup of tea that I've been drinking here is kind of cold, so I'm going to go make another one. And I will talk to you lovely folk all next week. Bye for now. Well, that's it for today's episode of Ditch the Store. If you're loving the journey to self-sufficiency, be sure to subscribe. You can also leave a review for us or share this episode with a friend who's ready to break up with their supermarket. If you've got questions or success stories, we'd love to hear about them on the socials. You can also find me at www.mojohomestead.net. Until next time, keep raising, growing and making. And remember, life's too short for store-bought eggs.